She wanted to eclipse that image of being just the Chinese, the Asian, the exotique female lady. She wanted to become an actress where her ethnicity had nothing to do with it.
When it came to playing roles that are written for white females, she could not be considered.
It's very hard for Hollywood audiences to relate to someone whom they know is not going to get the guy. She cannot have the kind of love interest that ultimately would give her stardom.
I've seen how the authorities handle things. I'm not interfering.
I really believe that she did not succumb to playing stereotypical parts. She always seemed to have a kind of dignity and a strength that never embarrasses me.
Although she was a big star, more importantly, she was a great gal. And I say the word gal because she was that regular. She was that regular. She was a hell of a gal.
Although I kept thinking of my late mother, I was glad I was wanted back to make a picture.
May Wong at that time had, I don't call it an obstacle, but something that was different. Chinese actress. And she was not widely known.
She's already someone they considered to be difficult to cast outside of certain roles. Then in November of 1932 came one of the biggest roles of her career, playing Hu Fei, the Chinese prostitute in Shanghai Express.
What kind of a house did you say? A boarding house. I'm sure you're very respectable, madam. I must confess I don't quite know the standard of respectability that you demand in your boarding house, Mrs. Haggerty.
What I think is very fascinating about that film is that I really do think she held her own against an acknowledged world-class diva.
She worked. I think the best word for May Wong is she earned her position. She earned it the hard way. That's why she survived as long as she did. And she came into a community. It wasn't striving, let's find a Chinese lady and make her a star. May Wong created a desire for Paramount to have a Chinese leading lady. She did it herself.
In a moment, I was so completely surrounded by pointing cameras that I felt like all of the Noble 600. Then the mass of interviews began. Each reporter came forward, presented me with his card, drew in his breath. Please. Deep bow and prolonged hiss. I answered this machine gun fire as best I could.
When she arrived in Shanghai, she was immediately ushered into the highest echelons of Chinese society. She was shown in photographs in Chinese newspapers and in the English language dailies which made their way back to the United States. Characteristically, Anna May handled this deftly. Little by little, she won over the Chinese press. They became more sympathetic to her.
Now for the great adventure to see my father that I haven't seen for a long time. And we get there by train, bus, and foot. And there is our old pappy. And rearing up is Richard, our youngest brother, and my sister Ying. He is so delighted and beaming as he greets us. We go to the village, and the people are curious and come from miles around to see what a movie star looks like. This is one of my favorite pictures of my father. He was so happy that day to be surrounded with his family from the West and the East. Although I've been to many, many places in the world, this first and only trip I made to China was the most meaningful.